Greetings, greetings. Welcome to Tunisia's Locks, Beauty Tips and Potpourri. I am Tunisia. Welcome to the channel. If you are returning, welcome home. If you are new to this journey, I hope that you can find something that you've been shopping for here in terms of information. Welcome to the channel. Today we are going to be talking about some things that will be useful for you to know if you are new to the Sisterlocks. I just see a little cute little black cat and my dog is right over there and I'm hoping she does not see it so she's not. Ooh, Albie, no, Ooh, Albie, no, Albie, come back, Albie. Oh my God, gotta go. She got who have been watching this channel for a minute. You know I have a special dog and she requires special arrangements. For those of you, come here baby, who are new, meet the beloved Albie. She is a white German Shepherd, and I really feel that because she is lacking melanin, there is something particular about her. As soon as I said, I hope she doesn't see that cat, because she was over there looking at the neighbor next door who comes in about every 2 weeks with this huge mastiff. So she was hypnotized by the mastiff. Then she turned around as soon as I said that and saw the cat, took off, snatched the trolley chain thing that I have her on, tied to one of these columns that gives her free rein, took off across the street without looking at anything, just missed the car. Anyway, I have my baby back. This is a sign. I'm gonna have to make some changes in our routine. Okay, back at the ranch. So, if you're new to the Sisterlocks journey, there are just some things that if you know them ahead of time, it can help you acclimate to this journey and help you move through it, matriculate through it much easier. The first thing I want to tell you, because I feel it's the most important thing, and I talk about this a lot on my channel, it's kind of the niche that has sort of emerged here with me interacting with the beautiful subscribers and supporters of this channel, but also going through this journey myself, and I've been at it for some time. I'm discovering a lot. So the first thing I want you to know is that this is not a passive journey. This is not a passive journey. You cannot get locks, should not get locks, and are not a good candidate for Sisterlocks if you want to take a laissez-faire attitude with your hair. You simply cannot do it. You can't. This is a kind of journey where you're going to have to be an active participant in the process, in the journey, after every retightening, in between retightenings. A lot of people come to this style kind of like I did, y'all, thinking that, okay, it's going to give me a break. I'm going to still be able to look beautiful. I'll have to do very little maintenance with my hair. And that is true depending upon what you're talking about. You are never going to have another bad hair day if you're lucky. You won't be having to worry about your hair daily. You will grow abundant, beautiful locks that will not only please you, but will captivate the eyes of everybody who you come into contact with. However, it does require that you be detail oriented. It does require that you take an active role in meticulously looking through your hair and investigating things that may be going wrong. It does require that you know your hair intimately enough, almost like you would know your children and be able to tell every little thing and know which of your children have which allergies and which of your children go to sleep at a certain time and which ones like to stay up all night. Jokes but not. You're going to begin to know your locks as individuals. And this is important because as you go through the process, you're going to encounter some challenges. And these challenges you need to know and be aware of them before they get too far into becoming major obstacles and creating breakage in your hair, dryness, thinning, balding, and a lot of other things that can crop up if you're not on top of things. So that's the first and most important item that I want to put out there at the very beginning of this video. Do not think that you can be passive. You have to be actively involved. So if you're that person who doesn't really want to do a lot to your hair, and you just kind of want to lay around and you don't want to have to go through and check it, you just want to go sit in the seat of your loctician, and you don't really want to do much maintenance and grooming of your hair during the process of watching them and expecting them to grow, Sisterlocks, Microlocks, they are not for you. And that's okay, because this journey ain't for everybody. But I will tell you this, it was the best decision that I have ever made with regard to my hair care. And in some of the daily tasks and the ways that do count, in terms of how much time and effort you have to spend, I have been freed from the tyranny of hair enslavement. In the sense that before I had locks, I liked to spend very little time on my hair. I do the same thing with my makeup. I have a 3 to 5 minute face, and that's it. And most of it is foundation to cover up the circles and the bags under my eyes, which I've had since I was dropped out the womb. Other than that, I don't like to spend a lot of time on beauty. I like to be able to go, and this style has freed me. So that's the pro, that's the upside. But just don't go into this naive. Number 2, the relationship that you have with your loctician, and this is obvious in a lot of respects, but I go into this in more depth on my channel. The relationship that you have with your loctician is going to be one of the most important relationships that you are ever going to have, with the exception of the one you have with your lover, your husband, and maybe the one that you have with your children and your immediate family members like your mother and your father. And I'm very serious about that. Because if you can establish a good rapport with your loctician, if you can get along, if you can bring in good energy and support that relationship in a very constructive way, then you're going to have not only a friend for life, but you're going to have someone who's going to be able to support your hair care goals for longevity. And that's important, because if you don't establish that very early on, and you don't find ways to get along with your loctician constructively and even build a good relationship based on trust, then as you go through the journey and you start to encounter certain challenges, which you no doubt will, you're not going to want to have to try to resolve these issues, obstacles, or conflicts with someone that you don't really like, someone you may not necessarily trust, or someone that you have difficulty communicating with, because either you have poor conflict resolution skills or they have poor communication skills, or both. It's very important, which is why on the front end you want to do your homework in terms of selecting a loctician. Now, there's only so much that we can do in terms of selecting the right person in the beginning, because it takes time to get to know someone. But there are a lot of things that you can look for and read in terms of their energy from the very beginning that can help you and assist you. And I want you to check out some of my other videos regarding, choosing a good loctician. I'm going to start putting and pasting in my description series of other related videos. I just have to take the time to do it. It'll make it easier for you to find key videos that I think are important. But if you don't, it's going to become problematic. So there are things that you need to do on the front end to ensure that you're choosing the right person. And if you find out early in your journey that you are not, or you have some doubts, then it's time for you to begin looking for another loctician. And you should always be in a position where you're not forced to go to someone else without being able to really trust them, which is why you're going to always need a backup loctician. I don't care. I mean, look at me. I moved out here to the country. You wouldn't know it because I'm in a tiny little town, which is about a half a mile long. I don't even think it's that long, but I'm in a historic house and I'm on the main street. So it's kind of exciting because I get to see everything going by, but it's busy, and of course I have to watch out for Albie. So as you hear those cars and things, but since I moved out here to the country and I'm 2.5 hours from Atlanta, well, Snellville, where I was living, oh, there's a cat again. Come here. Come here. You see that cat? Yep, and you better sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Don't even think about it. Little non-melanated German Shepherd. So, So, yeah. I moved all the way out here, and y'all already know the debacle I experienced more recently. It's been within the last couple of months, trying a Loctition out here because I missed 2 appointments with Efraj. And then sometimes, y'all, I'm like, I don't feel like going all the way back into the city. You get out to the country and you experience the life where people have humanity. Everybody's friendly, don't matter what color they are. Life is slower. I'm working from home. My whole life has transformed over the last few years, but in particular over the last several months, and you just don't want to go back into that congestion. This area feeds me spiritually. So I went to someone else. I needed to find a backup, and I found a backup all right. And I found a lady who, for all practical purposes, seemed as though she had everything together, and she is good at what she does. I know she is, because there are a lot of things that I was satisfied with, but those things somehow get overshadowed and negated when I have over 6 or 7 married locks in my head, which I would not have found unless something was not sitting well with my spirit, and I just happened to reach up just like this out of the blue and landed on a married lock. And then another, then another, then another. So I had to have my daughter come all the way down here and unmarry these locks one by one. So that's a situation you want to be very careful of, okay? Number 3, the third thing that you want to pay attention to, being a newbie to this journey and being someone without a lot of experience, your experience is going to come in the form of OJT, all right? Is this paying attention to your retightening schedule, and the quality of your retightenings is going to be imperative, because your retightening schedule and the quality of your retightenings, meaning how your Loctition is doing your retightenings, that being the more important thing than the first thing that I named, which is the frequency. Because if the quality of the retightening is good, then the frequency is not as important. If you are doing your retightnings, then the frequency becomes a lot less important, because you are going to take care and make sure that your hair gets what it needs and that you're very tender. But those 2 things can cause your locks to fall out. Oh my gosh, I cannot tell you the number of comments on this channel where sisters are losing locks are falling out. They're early in their journey. A sister contacted me the other day. She had a couple of locks fall out, and she was using my magical hair growth serum, and she already had a baby lock form in a very short period of time, and her hairline was starting to come back. Thank goodness, all praises are due to the creator. The magical hair growth serum is helping a lot of people. It helps the vast majority of people that try it, although I can't guarantee it. But between the 2 products, the 2 I Am Melanin Magic products, they seem to really be arresting hair loss, helping people to rebound from hair loss, or in general keeping your hair healthy and helping it to bounce back from the elements and the daily styling stresses and just some of the things that we do to these locks. So really paying attention to making sure that your Loctition is not doing your retightenings too tight. She's not completing rotations that are too close to your scalp, that you're not experiencing any soreness or any pain or any headache or anything like that after you get your locks done, or during the time that you're getting your locks done, that your Loctition is not, snatching your hair and you hear hair popping. No matter how infrequent you may think this is in your mind, because maybe you're going in every 6, 8, or 9 weeks to get your retightenings, over time the trauma that your hair experiences, there's nothing that you can do to these locks that you're not going to pay for. Take it from me, whether it was my OCD with lint or any of that other stuff that I've done, colored, I don't know, 9-10 times, plus the rinses. You're going to pay for what you do. So the last thing you need to be paying for are the retightenings that you have to get, because the last situation you want to be in is going to someone on a regular basis who's standing over your hair and not conscientious, ethical, or forthright enough to let you know that your hair is thinning, or that maybe they've done something else that they didn't need to do that's creating some hair loss, which they're not going to take responsibility for, a lot of people. Or finding out that, you know what, all the time I took that Motrin after I left, or my hair was aching and I didn't say anything, now I'm losing locks. Because once you start losing the locks, the severity of what you might be dealing with could have already progressed, and you could be at the point where you're going to continue to lose locks before you can actually arrest the loss. There's a video on the channel called Thinning and Balding Sisterlocks. You want to watch that video. So far, the top 3 things that I've mentioned, the first 3 are critical. All right. Number 4, you're going to have to make a decision about whether or not you want to use oil on your locks. Point blank, I'm just going to tell you. The majority of your locticians are going to tell you no. My loctician, thankfully, while a Sisterlocks certified loctician, was also and is also a master beautician and natural hair care stylist. So she knows natural hair. So even though I was a by the book person, when I don't know what book I'm talking about, because they barely give you any information about these locks. They act like everything is so doggone secretive. But I will tell you that she put oil in my hair the first day she began locking it, and I was sitting in the chair like, are you sure that it's okay to put that oil in my hair? Because the Sisterlocks people said, it's kind of like that book when you have children. You read the book when you have your first child, and you start anything that somebody's doing that's not in that book because you read the book. You're not open to doing if you're following some sort of plan, right? So I was kind of like that. So it took me a minute because I was attached to the idea that there was not supposed to be any oil on my hair, and she promptly told me, I'm familiar with the natural hair care journey, and these were not her words specifically, but essentially she said natural hair needs oil. And so as I continued through my journey, although I would have used a different oil in the beginning because what you put on your hair, and I didn't know enough about it in the beginning to know that if I'm oiling my hair, then I also need to be doing some other things to make sure that I don't have buildup. And the quality of the oil that I'm using, I need to be particular about it, and most certainly need to wash it very, very well. And there's some other things I need to be vigilant with so that I don't begin to have a lint issue. That's a whole nother video. So she told me that, and she began using oil on my hair, and it was wonderful because my hair needed oil. It may not have needed that kind of oil. I needed something all natural, maybe even organic. I needed something that was light, and I definitely didn't need anything with any mineral oil or any type of smell that was going to create like a lock funk kind of situation, which is what I ended up having to deal with, which is why over time, being into aromatherapy, I developed our own oil, which is the I Am Melanin Magic Premium Hair Oil, and it's the 8-ounce spray bottle, which you can get from the site. So you're gonna have to make the decision about whether or not you want to oil. Now I say this, I have a video to oil or not. You can find it on the channel. And what I say is, did you need oil before you got Sisterlocks? Did your hair dry out? Even if you weren't using heat or relaxers, if you have a natural hairstyle, do you need any kind of oil on it at all? Chances are, if you needed oil before that time, before you got your locks, you probably gonna need something on your locks when you get them, when you actually get them. Now, it's up to you whether or not you want to put it down the length of your hair, But I would argue you're going to need something in your scalp. And if you are 6 months in this journey, some of you 3 months complaining, or 1 or 2 years, and you still dealing with scratching, flaking scalp, irritation, and someone is telling you to put some sea breeze on it, which I'm not negating whether or not sea breeze works, because it can be effective. And you've been doing apple cider vinegar rinses and some other stuff, and your scalp is still irritated because it's crying out for something that is being stripped from its hair, from washing it, from going out of your house every day, from dealing and coming in contact with the elements, from anything else that you may be doing, and you're not listening to it. Similar to your skin needs supplementation depending upon the climate you live in, depending upon the kind of water that you're exposing your skin to, and just living and what you're doing to it. If it cries out for something, you're going to give it what it needs, right? If your hair is crying out for oil and you're not giving it oil, and you're dealing with irritable scalp issues, all you're going to do is create a situation that is ripe for breakage. All right, because dandruff, other scalp conditions, itchy, flaky scalp eventually harms your follicles. That eventually causes hair loss and breakage and thinning, and then balding. So you have to make a decision, and then you have to make a decision about what you're going to use. Whatever you decide to use on your hair, if you decide to go this route, make sure it's something that's very light, it's very natural. Don't put the heavier oils on your hair like coconut oil, avocado oil, oils that tend to weigh the hair down more, oils that also tend to clog. You don't want to put those kind of oils on your hair, and whatever you use, you want to use all natural products, okay? And if you want to try the I Am Melanin Magic brand, just check that out as well. That is responsible for the length of my hair, and trust me, y'all, I've put my hair through hell. And I'm now trying to do more than I used to do to keep my hair healthy, because I'm further and further into this journey. And beyond this point, I see very few people who aren't dealing with hair loss. And it's one thing if it's genetic and you can't control it, but it's another thing if it's the hairstyle that's causing it, and you've reached a point where you can't regenerate new hair growth with your locks in your hair. So that provides a whole nother litany of challenges, and you don't want to have to deal with that. So number 4 being, if you're new to this journey, you will have to make a decision about whether or not you want to oil. Number 5 is you're going to need to braid and band. I don't care what anybody says. It's one of those things that you need to do early in the journey that's going to protect your hair, and you need to take it seriously. You need to braid and band well into the journey. If you have thick hair already, or your hair is long, sometimes you'll be braiding and banding past 3 and 4 years. I did. And occasionally now, although I haven't done it probably in the last year or 2, I can't remember how long it's been, but I will still braid and band, just depending upon what's going on with my hair and what I'm doing, because it took my hair a long time to actually compress and drop. All right, and for my locks to look like this. They were bushy, thick, it had a mane like a little lion, and it was just unruly. And when I put the apple cider vinegar rinse in it, whenever I put a regular rinse in it or dye, it just became unruly. My hair was so heavy a weekend ago when I did the apple cider vinegar rinse, I was like, oh my gosh. So braiding and banding is something that you need to commit to if you are new to this journey. The other thing I want to say to you that's very, very important, number 6, is that embrace the journey. When I say embrace the journey, I'm really saying embrace you. Okay, don't expect your locks to look like anybody else's locks. If that's why you got them, you might be in for a disappointment. Accept the changes and the evolution that your hair is going to go through as you become more beautiful to yourself. Also understand that in the beginning, you may not feel that great about your locks. And when they start changing and doing what they're doing, depending upon how long it takes your hair to lock and how long you're in the teenage years and how long it takes it to compress, you might not like it very much. But what I'm going to tell you is to reprogram that thought and redefine what's beautiful to you, and try to accept it and know that you're going to be blossoming throughout this entire journey, and that each stage of the journey that you go through you're also going to experience something within, internally, spiritually, as you go through this journey. And it's worth it. It is so worth it. When I got them in the beginning, I loved them because they look like this, right? And they kind of had a wave to them like these look after a braid out, right? And I just loved them, and they were so tiny and cute, and it was just, they curled up on the ends. By the way, I still, back in the day, I took my ends out probably for the first few years because I like the ends to be out. And then when I started with my OCD lint picking stuff, they were always out. So I didn't have to worry about taking the little push pin and taking the little lock out to keep my curlies, my goddess curls. But so it looked so cute, and I loved it. And then, y'all, and I don't know what I was thinking, but and then they started doing this kind of crazy stuff. They start doing this real crazy stuff, and then they start bunching, or I think they call it, and then they start getting fat in certain places. They look crazy in certain places where they were thicker and thinner. Oh my goodness. And I was starting to be like, well, what's going on? Then I had to accept, honey, you have locks, honey. I don't know what you were thinking. They weren't gonna look like that all the time. And they looked crazy. And that's what got me into fooling with my hair, because I couldn't complain to Efraj every time they were looking crazy, because I got to go through the journey, right? You got to do your time. So I would take them out, and then I watched her, y'all. I'm self-reliant. I can't help it. I'm a Virgo. I need to be able to maintain myself and not have to rely on anybody, okay? And so I would just, open up the ends, open up maybe the whole half of the thing, and then put the lock back in based on what I saw her do, tease it at the bottom, and da-da-da. And then when I got up to where I had a little opening, then I would use my craft needle and close it up. So my locks were doing all kind of things, but at least they were okay to me, and they looked even. And I didn't pay the price for any of that. I'm sure my locks look about the same as most of you all who've never repaired or done anything to them. But the point is, that is what happened to me. All right, so these are the kinds of things you're going to run into. They are going to change and evolve just like anything else that is alive on this planet, and you need to go with the flow. Suffer ye not in the way of your hair as much as you can. Try to just really accept the change that you're going through, and be happy. And be happy. Number 7 is, if you can find out how to do your own locks, or if you can, and I'm not saying you have to take a class, but some of you who are by the book might want to take a class. You need to, in addition to having a backup, you need to kind of have some idea of how to at least do 1 or 2 of your locks in the event that you experience something and you can't get to your loctician. You're going to always come. Something may potentially happen, and you may need to do your hair. When fellas, so many sisters were saying they couldn't get to their locticians, and they had to, out of necessity, do their own locks, or come here, Albie. They had to either do their own locks, or they had to wait. And so they were 2-3 months, or some of them more than 3 months past due, and the hair started breaking. So you got to kind of have an idea of how to do your own hair. And trust me, you never want to be out to sea without a life raft. So that's some advice that I'm going to give you. These are 7 important things that I've talked to you about that can be helpful on the journey. Are there more? Most certainly. I will do multiple videos and talk about other things that will be helpful to you on this journey. Please leave a comment, subscribe to the channel if you have not. As you see, the sun is going down, so I'm gonna have to cut my video short. But also, I encourage you to submit 1 to 2 minute videos to me. You can send me a text only to my 678-438-6442 telephone number. If you are newbie, or if you're a veteran in the journey, some aspect of the journey that you want to share with the sisters. You could be talking about, my loctician said I had Sisterlocks, but look at my grid, I'm disappointed. Or you could be talking about, I've got this wonderful loctician, let me show you her and introduce us to her. Whatever it is that's been helpful to you on your journey, or whatever it is that's been constructive, and can be constructive feedback that we can all benefit from, would love for you to share that with us. Okay, I love y'all. If you have not purchased my book, Manifesting Your Masterpiece, please do so on Amazon. If you want to go to the IamMelaninMagic.com website, I will link it in the description. Much love to you. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your day. Please be peaceful, prosperous, and productive. You're with Tanisha Ali.